Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, if you like this video, please subscribe. It really helps the channel and it helps me make more videos for you guys. So, let's start with lesson 1, create a racetrack and add players. So this is a 6-lesson unit that is going to cover how to make a racer game. So we're going to start by making the track, and then we're going to add some sprites that we will use as race cars. So first, we're going to go over to stage, because that's where we add our backdrop. So we're going to draw our own. So we'll click here where it says paint, and we're going to enter what's called the vector map. Now if we convert to bitmap, then it's just, we takes away some of the features that we have. So this is the image editor that we have for different backgrounds or even for different sprites if we want to change how they look and change their color. So let's make our background. I'm going to choose a square and I'm just going to cover the entire background. And now I'm going to change the color. Make it a darker green. And now you see it comes up. So next what you want to do is make the track with 2 different circles. So let's draw out the first one. Now I want to make the wall a little thicker than that, so you move up here where it's 4 points, and let's increase it to 10. And let's make this a little larger. Next, draw another one. Click off of him, and now here's the magic of the bitmap, or the vector map, sorry. So now what we can do is first we'll change the color of the inside. Could change it to that for now. We'll change the color of the track. We'll keep the track a light color. Go to paint, excuse me. You know what? Let's make this a minter color like that. And now let's make the track more of a white cement color. There we are. So now let's use this feature to stretch out our circles. You see when I click on that fine line, if I click on it again, now that gives me a point where I could stretch it out. And I'll do the same thing with this one. And now we're stretching out. Now I'm going to move over to line. I'm just going to draw a little line. Let's see if this comes out the way I like it. Yeah. And now we could zoom in on that line. I'll move up and over. Because what I would like to do is paint some white lines on that line to make it look like a finish line. Just a dot. And that's it. Now when I zoom out, now I have my racetrack with a finish line. And see, this is a blank backdrop, and you can just get rid of that. And here is your backdrop. Now that might be enough right there to have kids working for a full period making the track look the way they want in the vector map. We're going to move on, and we're going to add sprites. So come down here. And this time we're just going to choose a sprite. Since we're making a racing game, I'm going to look for the cars. I'll choose one. I want to rename it. Instead of convertible, let's just call it player 1. Okay, it's a little big, isn't it? Here are some attributes. We have the size, we have the placement in the X and Y axis, and we have the direction it's facing. We could also show it or we can hide it and it disappears. And we'll get into that later. But first, let's make sure it fits on our racetrack. That's a little better. I'll go even smaller. Let's say 30%. Okay, because he has to fit on there with another car. Choose another sprite. And I'll choose the other convertible, and I'm going to rename this convertible, you guessed it, Player 2. And I'll move him to 30%. Let's take a look how that looks stacked up. Not bad. If you want him to be the same size, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into the Player 1. I'm going to look at his costume in the vector map. Let's see if I can make him a little shorter. Convert to vector. And you can see him change on the screen so that now they're the same size. Now you want to code them so you can get them moving. So we're going to look at our first few coding blocks. We're going to look at our events. Now the events are always going to be on top. They trigger an action that happens below it. So we're going to start with when up arrow is pressed, because we want to move forward when up arrow is pressed. So now we're going to go to motion, and we're going to say move 5 steps. Let's test it out. Okay. So now we could do the same thing. We're going to move out different events to get him moving in a different direction, to get him to turn. So I'm going to move out another and another for both turns. And I'm going to say when right arrow is pressed. Instead of move 10, we're going to say turn. But we're going to change this 15 to say 4. And then we'll do the same thing. Remember to change this to left arrow, 4. And now he can turn. Now he doesn't turn very smoothly. And it doesn't turn at the same time. And that is what's going to bring us to our next lesson. But before you do that, you have to make sure you put the same code on player 2, but you have to change it a little bit. So let's take a look at that. Set him back up. And what we need to do is very simple. We can take this piece of code and drag it to player 2. Let's do it with this one. And you see it kind of shakes, and then I drop it. And that's it. Now when I click on player 2, they stack right up on top of each other, not very nicely, but there they are. But I need to change something, because right now, you move both at the same time. That's not what you want. So I'm going to use the W to go forward, and then the D key to turn right. Oh, that's the left, so I would use the A key to turn left, and the D key to turn right. And what that does, it gives you a little arrows on the other side of the keyboard so you can play against an opponent. And that wraps up lesson 1. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Please like and subscribe, and I could continue making more videos. Take care.